Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Monster Hunter. I'm HazzD. Last time we went out and picked some mushrooms. This time we're going to go out and hunt a new monster. But first I want to talk to this lady here. Where is she? There she is. Hello. Apparently I'm talking to a pair of legs. Excellent. Never mind. If you take the materials you get from carving up monsters to the crafting shop, they'll create new weapons and armor for you. You can also use the materials you get to improve your weapons. Maybe I ought to get them to improve my favourite basket here too. Maybe make it bigger. That's quite funny. And looking at that, I don't think that's worded very well, since maybe I ought to. Doesn't sound very good. Never mind. Moving on, we'll go and do our next 2-star quest, which is Present for the Armourer. Basically, this quest is got a reward of 200 zenny, it's a contract of 100 zenny, 40 minutes time limit. I don't think you'll need those 40 minutes unless you're out there to collect everything possible. And by then I think you would fill your pack before you get to 40 minutes. We're in the Forest and Hills again. It's 2-star obviously. We have to deliver 5 Kelbi horns. Kelbi are the new monster we're going to go and hunt. I'll explain it in a bit more detail when we see it. The requester is a veteran armourer. The decorations on bowguns have always been made of the horns of Kelbi. But we're running out. Can you bring me 5 Kelbi horns? I don't know how 5 is enough to restock you completely. I mean, if I was to stock up, I would get maybe 100, and then I would never run out unless they go bad, and if they go bad, then, well, maybe I won't get horns to stick on my weapons then. I don't know. Never mind, we're going to head out and we're going to hunt some Kelbi. So once the quest is loaded, it is loading. There we go, it is loaded. I'm going to come over to the chest, obviously, pick up some more stuff. Some first aid. Some rations, as always. More paintballs. I think from about here on, you're always going to see paintballs in that chest. I think, well, eventually, if you don't use them like I do when I normally get into late game, I would normally go out and just grind through monsters. You're going to end up with like a box full of paintballs, and trust me, you're going to start hating those paintballs by the end of the game because you are very, very limited by how much box space you can have. Trust me, you're going to get annoyed by how little space you have in there by the end of the game if you go out and just start making every weapon, as I have. I've got nearly an entire box full of crap, that's half of which I don't need, but it's just kind of there in case I need it. But never mind, here we are. This is our new monster, the Kelbi. A herbivore, deer-like monster, valued for their horns. They tend to run away at first hints of danger. They're also hunted for their meat, which is chewy but flavourable. I was trying to get away from that thing over there, which is a Vespoid, which I'll get into in a later episode, probably the next episode, because I don't particularly want to explain it now. But back to the Kelbi. Basically, they will run away when you get near them because they're a herbivore. They're a very small herbivore that drop either Kelbi horns or I think Kelbi pelt or something. I can't quite. No, it's warm felt is what they drop. To think about it there for a second. Yeah, so they only spawn in this one quest here because, well, their only purpose is to allow you to get access to Kelbi felt and Kelbi horns, which are used for basically making several weapons. Ooh. There we go. As you can see, when I knocked it down, it didn't quite die. It was just kind of faking death, so I would basically just say, yeah, just hit it one extra time when it goes down, just to double check that it is actually dead. So there we go. That's another Kelbi horn, so that's pretty sweet. Just come over here. This one over here, as you can see, there are 2 variations of them. There's the male ones with more prominent horns, and the female ones, which are a lighter grey colour. So yeah, let's just carve this up and try and avoid that thing. Vespoids, as you may notice, are one of the most annoying things in any level of this game because they will literally just keep buzzing around and annoy the hell out of you because basically that's their whole purpose. You're carving something, oh wait, Vespoid randomly appeared out of nowhere and just stabbed you in the face. Brilliant! I can't wait to get the explanation out of the way from them, so I don't want to say too much about them right now because, well, I don't want to fill this episode up with just bios because I've done that in previous episodes, and to be honest, I was a little bit annoyed by how many I filled it with, but that was probably the best time to explain them. But oh well, let's carve up some more Kelbi. I've lost track of how many I actually have now. There we go, Kelbi hide. Wait, then where do I get 1 felt from? I don't know. Okay, I did get Kelbi hide from it. I don't know where I get 1 felt from. Maybe I get that from the Fang? No, I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, heading into this area to hunt some more down. Here we go. Here we go. So yeah, this is basically the whole quest. They're not exactly the most exciting monster in the game, but there is a monster later on related to these, which I will get into right at the end of the game, because it's something you can only access online, but there's a monster very similar to them that is basically take this concept and then jack it up on steroids, and then you have to run away and piss your pants because it is terrifying. That is pretty much the description of that monster, or what it should be, because that is what it is. But never mind, we're just going to murder some more deers. I mean, I don't know why they had to send out a 2-star hunter to kill these things, because they're pretty weak, I must admit. I mean, they're nearly as weak as an Amphinoth, even though they have more health, and they do probably do probably about the same amount of damage as them. They're basically, you know, they're just a bit more aggressive, these male ones, because they will charge you to protect the other ones, which, you know, it's not really that much damage if you're wearing armor like I am. Let's put that down. And I have just noticed right now that my weapon makes a noise when I swing it. If I be quiet and you can hear it, it makes a Velociprey sort of noise. Well, it makes more of a squawking bird noise. Granted, Velociprey are bird wyverns, but yeah, so that's kind of interesting. I never noticed. I may have to check it out and see if the later versions in this this line of weapons, because it varies as you go on. It splits off into a branch sort of thing where you can get basically subtypes of the Velociprey weapons. So we'll get into that more when we get into it, which is probably going to be 3 stars. So look forward to that. So let's just cut this down. Hiya! There we go. That's down. Something I want to say about Kelbi is that I don't know why, but they keep coming back in every single game pretty much. I can't think of a game, well, ones that I've played where they haven't come back. Granted, my knowledge of Monster Hunter in terms of games I have actually played is pretty limited, since I think I've only played 4. And one of them was this one, the PSP version of this one. And then 3, so Try, and then Try Ultimate, or 3 Ultimate, which, you know, that's pretty narrow view of to say where these monsters appear, but these monsters appear in nearly every single game, I think. I don't know why they're so popular and why they keep coming back, just because, oh, you can make armor out of them. You know, their parts normally act as like an extra part to make armor out. I don't know why that's so important. I just don't know. But never mind. We're done now. I think 5 is all we need, or I'm running away. Yep. There we go. We only need 5. So that's pretty nice. That's the last time we're probably going to see Kelbi for a very long time, because I am probably not coming back to hunt them ever again in this LP. At least not on screen. Because, well, they are required for a set of armor I want to make, which is what I'm going to do in a bit. But first, we're going to end this quest, obviously. But after we finish this quest and gone back to the village, I'm going to cut away to the new armors that you can make now that you have Kelbi items, particularly hides. So once this quest is over, we'll cut away to that. And while I'm cut away to that, I'll cut back to after acquiring enough materials to make the new set of armor I want to make, because I think this armor, it's had its life, it's had a good run, it's just not quite good enough for what's coming up in the future stars, because I think I'll wear the next set of armor until probably around about the end of 3-star, because it's pretty good armor. It's not like you have to replace it immediately, it's just, it's good enough, I'd say. It's good enough, and it'll last. So I'll probably cut away now to the new armors you get. So okay, and the first new set of armor that we can acquire with Kelbi hide is Velociprey armor. Velociprey armor comes in both Blade Master and Gunner armor. As you can see, the Blade Master armor has 30 defense and 0 fire resistance. That's not bad for Blade Master armor, especially at this point in the game. The other resistance, again, you won't see them for a long time, so it's not a problem. As you can see, it's got the ability immunity to unconsciousness. Unconsciousness is something I'll go over in more detail when we actually get to that point in the game. But for now, just know that if you get hit quite a few times from a big attack in succession, not over time, just in succession, you will get dizzy and you have to break out of that dizziness. This pretty much just prevents that, so that's a very nice ability, since that's really the only effect you're going to see for a long time in this game. and it will come into effect around about 3 stars. That's very nice. But moving on to the gunner armor, and as you can see, it's got lower defense but high fire resistance, which is fantastic since soon you're going to get into a lot of fire resistance because that's going to be pretty much the only element you're going to see for a long time. So this is fantastic armor for this point in the game. It still shares the immunity to unconsciousness, which is fantastic ability, as I said before. Great set of armor, really good for this point in the game. I would highly suggest getting this armor, even if it's the first set of armor you get, highly suggest it. Okay, moving on to our next set of armor, we have bone armor. Bone armor is something you create by finding bones lying around in different places. This one requires unknown skulls, small monster bones, Buffalo pelt, Kelbi hide, Velociprey scales. So this one requires a whole load of stuff. As you can see, it's got high defense, same as Velociprey armor, but it's got a lot of the resistances like fire and water. They're also 0. Water's not really important at this point in the game, so it's not really a plus. As you can see, it's got the status Provoke Monsters, which is pretty good if you're playing online because it draws the attention of the monster to you. So if you're acting as a tank, that'd be a very useful ability for, say, you have a gunner team and other people just shooting it from around, you're just standing there with a shield, blocking a lot of its attacks. That's fantastic. However, it's very difficult to find all of these materials, so I wouldn't suggest it. Okay, and moving on to the gunner armor, it's got 15 defense, high fire resistance and water resistance, so that's pretty fantastic. As you can see, this set of armor has another ability. This set of armor has 3 abilities on it. It has Provoke Monster, Immune to Steal, which basically prevents you from having any of your items taken by the Malinxes when they're annoying you in the middle of a quest. They steal something from you. That doesn't happen with this set of armor, which is fantastic. Third ability on this set of armor is Bam and Double. Bam and Double basically doubles the speed at which you get hungry, so your stamina is going to drop at twice the normal rate. This ability is pretty much here to be a hindrance to the set of armor, since this set of armor already has 2 abilities, which are pretty good to be honest. So it's going to have a third one just to bring it down a bit so that you can't be overpowered with this set of armor, because this set of armor is quite early in, and having abilities like this would be a bit over the top at this point in the game, so it's going to have a hindrance. So to each your own. If you don't mind having your stamina drop at twice the normal rate, you're just going to bring a ton of well done steaks or power juice or whatever you're going to bring, then there's no problem, it's fine. This one requires more unknown skulls and pretty much all of the same, except, as you can see, it requires monster fluid. Monster fluid is something you will get from the Vespoids, the flying insects. They sometimes drop and you can harvest them. This is a material that you can sometimes get from them. It is one of those materials that you use in a lot of weapons and armor, something that you'll get a lot more of later on when you actually get a quest to hunt them. And another instance where it's very easy to get these monsters and knock them down and collect them, so I'll go over that in more detail when we can actually do that. It's quite difficult to get monster fluid at this point in the game, so getting the gunner armor might be quite difficult for you, so I would suggest going for a different set of gunner armor if you're going for one. But this one is a fantastic set of armor if you're looking for a really good early game gunner armor. This is fantastic. We're moving on to our next set of armor. We have the light belt, which is pretty much just made from Kelbi hide. It's just a really basic belt. It's got 1 defense, 1 fire resistance, 1 water resistance. Not fantastic. It's there pretty much so you can have a bit of armor to fill in the waist slot. It's not exactly the most amazing, however it might be used for some abilities, since you can mix and match some sets of armor to make certain abilities, which I'll go over in more detail really late in the LP. Probably right at the end in a bonus episode, but I'll go over it eventually, don't worry. That's what this piece of armor is for. It's for making abilities by combining it with other ones, so it's not exactly the most useful and something you'll probably only get later on in the game if it's useful to you then, but for now I wouldn't suggest it. But moving on to our next set of armor, we have the Iron Belt. The Iron Belt is basically just a little bit stronger. It uses iron. Again, it's for the exact same thing you use the Light Belt. Basically, it's just for creating certain status effects, certain abilities. Not exactly the most useful, but then again, you might want it really late in the game. I'm 100% sure this one is actually used for creating a certain ability later on, so it could be quite useful to pick this up now and just keep it for later. But to each your own. If you really want this, you can get it. If you need a bit of waist armor, you can get this, but I wouldn't suggest it. That's all of the armors we have for now, so back to the video. Okay, and there we go. Now that I've shown those, I'm going to head over here to the armory and pick up a new set of armor. So, what's it going to be? Velociprey armor. It's not important for this set of armor in particular, but other armor I've mentioned, if it's got blade in there, you can't use it for guns. If it's got gun, you can't use it for blade. So make sure you check which one it's for. So, It's crafted from Velociprey scales, often the first gear made by novices. It's not our first gear because I thought why not buy a set of armor earlier, but sometimes, normally when I'm just playing through the game quickly, I will literally just go through the entire game and then make this armor first. This will be the first armor I've made, but I decided to change it up for the LP just because I wanted to show it off earlier in. So let's make it. It requires 3 Velociprey scales, 2 iron ore, and 1 Kelbi hide, so we did have to do the Kelbi quest to unlock this armor. So now that we've done that, let's equip it now. Yes, please. As you can see, it's got 6 defense and it's got quite a few weaknesses. If I was to look at this set of armor, you can see that it's actually got good fire resistance. However, thunder resistance is still low. However, it's got no plus or minus for water or dragon, so it's pretty good. However, defense is lower. You'll find this with a lot of armor. So ones that are like for gunners, where they're at long range, where it's normally elemental damage is normally done at long range. You know, it's normally shot at you. So it's going to be a lot better to have higher resistance to long range attacks than just general damage. So that's why a lot of the gunner armor has got better elemental resistance than just normal resistance. So let's make Velociprey mail. Yes, please. Equip it now. And the arms, a bit of van braces. Yes, and as you can see, my Zenny is slowly trickling down to nothing. I had a whole 7,500, the most I've had in this game so far, and now I'm down to a measly 1,800, which is not a whole lot, but oh well, it's worth it for this set of armor, because this armor is going to last me throughout the entirety of 3-star, pretty much. I doubt I'm going to change it up in that time, unless I find one when I go through practicing, find any better armor. So let's go in here, have a look at our armor. Look at that! Useful, isn't it? It doesn't look a lot like a Velociprey scale and stuff, but never mind. It looks pretty badass. So this is the armor we're going to be rocking for the next couple of quests, or quite a few quests. Let's have a look at the total stats. We've got minus 10 water resistance, but you won't see water resistance till I think 5-star, so that's not really important. Thunder resistance, won't see that till let me think. When will you see that? I won't see that till after 5-star. Dragon resistance, won't see that at all because that is an online exclusive element, so you will never see that. So, well, you'll see it possibly in a weapon. There's one weapon we can access that has that, and I'll get into that when we get into it at the end of the game. But fire resistance, most important one from this point in the game, because pretty much every monster from here to 5-star that has an element is going to be fire, so it's good to have fire resistance, or not a weakness to fire resistance. But we've got 31 defense, which is pretty sweet. So looking at that, I'd say that's a good place to end it off. So thank you very much for joining me for Let's Play Monster Hunter. Next time we'll go out and do some more 2-star quests. So until then, like, comment, subscribe and all the other good stuff. I've been HazzD, and I'll see you next time.